Last week, we raced at the circuit where the Lotus 49 first won. The driver behind the wheel? Well, it was none other than Jim Clark. So it's somewhat fitting that we follow up with a track from his homeland in Scotland. Knockhill will be a tricky little bull ring in this beastly F1 car. Let's see who can wrangle it as we get ready to watch round 6 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Christian Challoner. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Knockhill might not be as familiar to our international audience, so let's head to our track guide to find out a bit more about it. Welcome to Knockhill Racing Circuit. Opened in 1974, this place has become perhaps the most famous of Scottish racetracks. It sits a little less than an hour north of Edinburgh, and while the stats may make it seem extremely short, it packs a lot of punch within a lap. The 4 main layouts have a mere 2 kilometers, or just over 1 mile in length, and a measly 9 to 10 corners. But no 2 of those turns are alike, and there's an impressive 120 feet of elevation change. Also, a majority of the apexes are taken at medium to high speeds. That makes passing rather tough, but the hairpin at Taylor's is the most likely spot to outbrake someone. Otherwise, you'll just have to wait for a mistake from your rival. Perhaps the aspect that is most unique here is that the circuit can be run clockwise or counterclockwise. Naturally, this changes the nature of some of the corners, but a few things are the same no matter which way you run it. Duffus Dip is a sketchy one in which it can be hard to judge how fast you can take it. And the chicane, which has become notorious for the way touring cars blast over its curbs, requires incredible commitment from the driver and stability in your setup. Speaking of which, expect to set up your car to have to handle the aggressive curves that guard the insides of pretty much every turn. Knockhill has been long requested by the plentiful Scottish racing fans, and with its arrival in the sim, it's sure to garner even more fans around the world now. So there you see a little bit about this place, but Christian, we were even talking a lot before the broadcast. This is going to be quite the combination, especially with the amount of drivers we have.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's a very, very small track by modern standards, 1.26 miles or 2.03 kilometers. And, you know, it's got some really difficult turns. Duffus Dip is obviously, you know, a very, very high elevation corner, and the chicane, you kind of have to really shoot the car across the top of it, and the landing is very, very difficult. So a very tight track, a very fast lap times as well, down around about 45 to 46 seconds. So I think with the number of cars we've got today, we're definitely going to see the lead pack have to fight through lapped cars, which should make it pretty interesting.
It'll keep it spicy, no doubt, but Jim Shedlick has been trying to dominate in the meantime as we look at the championship. He's taken his 4th win in a row. And what's interesting is Gronkowski finally broke his streak. He finished 5th last time out at Zandvoort. Otherwise, he had been finishing 2nd every race that he showed up for. He missed Zolder, unfortunately, which has set him how far behind you see now. Ove Trangerade, Xavier Sanchez, and John Olsen are the ones trailing relatively tight to one another. But really, we need to see who can beat Shedlick today. What about the F2 championship?
Well, Hoye Neva had another great run at Zandvoort. He picked up 43 points again, so he's extended his lead even further over Matthew Maudsley. Maudsley actually had to pit early in that race because he didn't actually fill the car with enough fuel, so he's 39 points back. Matt Wright, 5 points back of him in 3rd spot. Emmanuel Pera, he's 10 points back again in 4th, but it's a pretty tight fight for that 4th spot. Michael Grissinger is only 2 points behind and 56 off the overall lead.
As we take a look at the Nations Cup, obviously, with Shedlick dominating, the United States is leading with the UK trailing. Spain, Norway, and Singapore are the last 3, but Spain and Norway are pretty close on that fight there for 3rd place. We'll see what Ove can do to try and get themselves up one more position. I imagine it's going to be a lot of laps for today's race details here, Christian.
Yeah, absolutely. Round 6 of 12, so halfway through the season now. 43 laps, obviously that's just because the laps are so short around here, around that kind of 46-second point. Open setup as always in the Lotus 49, and no spare car. So I really think everybody has to be very, very cautious on that first lap because the track is very tight and there's a lot of sections like the chicane and Clark, which are very much one-line corners. It's going to take a lot of drivers, being very, very sensible to get through that first lap clean.
No doubt. And as we ride on board with our drivers trying to take laps, this is Shedlick, who of course has the number one with the highest I rating in the field today. And he is going to have a very wide entry. I suspect that was an outlap for him. So let's see how he can do now that he is on a flyer. Let's ride on board here, Christian, to see what it is like over these elevation changes.
Yeah, and I mean, the first corner is just crazy. You really can't see anything except that inside curve, and you have to get it right so that you don't, end up either too wide or too narrow to the second part, because you'll pick up an off track if you go too far either way. Chicane, can't see anything. You see him actually all the way to the bollards there, and using all the curb on the exit as well. And then, really, the last part of the track is actually kind of the, easiest part. You've got through Clark, but then this straightaway is not really straight, and it's actually kind of tricky in the 49. It will try and get away from you. Then one last kind of uphill hairpin to end the lap.
That's all you need to know there about Knockhill as Shedlick comes to the line. Gronkowski has a provisional pole with a 46.3, and it's a 46.4. Oh, okay. So Gronkowski has brought his A game today, and he's already on his second flyer as we continue to follow the Carolina driver here on his second lap. Togo Hisada is back once again, and he's put it into third. Ryan Walker, an actual Scot, is here, and he has managed fourth on his lone flying lap. His second one was deleted, unfortunately. So here, Gronkowski goes even quicker as Nieva is trying to come across the line and see what he can do. And Shedlick is just coming around the last hairpin now. He has a 10th and a half to make up. Can he take pole away?
10th and a half is a lot at this track, but he doesn't quite do it. He's 500th short.
Still going to be extremely close as we watch Sanchez, one of the few that has not set a time. This is his first flyer, so hasn't had a lap deleted yet. Sanchez has been quick this season, vying for top fives, for podiums, kind of for wins, but obviously Gronkowski and Shedlick have been dominating that one. But let's see what his first lap is going to look like. 47.3, and that is only 15th for Sanchez. That is massively down the order.
Yeah, and with the track being so short, the lap times are very, very close. I wonder, are the lap times here actually faster than they are around Pocono? It's got to be close, right?
I think they are. I think they are. But Pocono's 2.5 miles, so that is a much longer lap. And yes, they are full throttle for the vast majority of it. But this is interesting as we watch Sanchez get ready to take his second lap now. Has to do much better than that 47.3 if he wants a good result today, unless he hopes for the chaos to help him out. As he crosses the line, 47 flat. That's a little better. It's still only 9th place.
Yeah, but definitely a big improvement relatively. And one driver who's pretty far down the order compared to where we normally see him, Sebastian Tixia, he's only good enough for, 11th now.
Wow. Ooh, yeah. He's still looking for that first win, and today's certainly not going to help things unless he has something miraculous. And watching Don Peak on my screen as he's getting ready to set a lap here as he crosses the line, 48.9, and that's going to put him into 27th. He has enough time for one more, and I think he might be the last one able to set a lap. Checking through. No, Matt Wright is on his last lap, but he's in 15th, and he just crossed the line. 47 flat for him. That's a gain up to 8, so ahead of guys like Sanchez, Nieva, Tixier. Matt Wright not doing too shabby.
Yeah, that's a really nice time there for Matt Wright. Put himself up inside the top 10. Good opportunity for points today, especially with, it's a short track and there's a lot of laps, but it is quite hard to pass around here. Obviously, the hairpin is kind of the natural passing spot. You can get a move done into turn 1. It's just very, very risky because, it's a blind corner at the best of times. So to be doing it too wide, it's, you are asking for trouble if you're trying to make a pass into turn 1.
Peak second lap was good enough for a 48.7, but that did not promote him above 27th. That'll be the last of our drivers there with a chance to qualify. Everybody else is in pit lane, and we don't have enough time left on the clock, unfortunately. So let's go through our starting grid with Jordan Gronkowski starting on the pole today. It is going to be Jim Shedlick who starts in second. Togo Hisada will be P3. Brian Walker, representing his homeland, is going to try and see if he could get onto the podium from fourth. Ben Zoko from Australia starts from fifth as Ove Trangrade P6. You've Olsen in seventh, and Matt Wright, as I mentioned there, late in qualifying, good enough for eighth. Miro Rasky starts ninth. Outside of row 5 is going to be Xavier Sanchez.
Yeah, and Hoye Neva, we're used to seeing him as being the front runner of the F2 drivers, but today outshone by Matt Wright. He's only lining up in 11th. Still a good starting spot though. Sebastian Tixier a little bit further back than we're used to seeing him. He's in 12th with Laust Olsen. Going for another top 10 today. He's in 13th with Gary Quayle alongside him at 14th. Matthew Maudsley is 15th with Richard Yalland. We've seen him have some really astonishing qualifying performances this season, but not today. He's back there in 16th. Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado is 17th with Bruce Nelson in 18th. And Jan Lehman and Harry Weir line up at the tail end of the top 20.
It's going to be Will Lamb starting 21st. Armin Weber will be 22nd. Robert Plumley, surprisingly low in the qualifying here in 23rd. Timothy Rollins follows him. You've got Marcellus Bruning on the inside of the next row, and then Glenn Becker in 26th. Don Peak has put it into 27th. Tobias Harnby, 28th, and St. Maurice will be 29th. You've got Sandro Segari in 30th, last set of time with Gary Ho, Kaj Hansen, Alan Graham, and Robert Reynolds rounding out your 33-car field. We do have at least one driver on cams today. Laust Olsen is going to join us as he will grid up from 13th. So we'll try our best to at least pop in and get his view at some point if we get a moment of calm or if we get to follow his action, but no guarantees on that because it is going to be frantic here today. At least the good news, Christian, is that they have pretty decent weather.
Yeah, well, that's very surprising for Knockhill because I'm pretty sure that 90% of the races I've ever watched at this track, it's raining. So, yeah, I guess it's a good day.
Yeah, I know in iRacing's development of rain, there have been a lot of talk about this is the first place that needs it. I feel like Spa needs to contend for that one as well. But as we wait for the last of them to grid up, we just need, I believe, Ryan Walker to put himself out there. Otherwise, we've got most everybody on the grid. And looks like Walker is there. So I think we're missing Laust Olsen still. Otherwise, I don't see anybody else that needs to pop themselves onto this climbing front stretch. And the drivers have got to be a little bit nervous, I'm sure, with them having raced this, I believe, last season, but it's been a while. That was early on, and it's been a minute. So the engines now start to rev as the lights come up for the halfway mark of the Grand Prix Legends, and the green flag is out. Ooh, it's a fantastic start from Shedlick, as once again Gronkowski seems to struggle off the line, coming down into Duffus Dip. He's got the edge, and he's going to keep the lead, at least for now, but clearly he is under threat early, watching behind to see if we have any sort of issues. One car off, but otherwise, Christian, it looks like we made it through.
Yeah, it's been very clean so far, but we've still got the chicane to go, and there's still numerous instances of too wide. We've got one too wide moment going through the chicane. Someone's off in the gravel. I'm not sure who it is.
That was Yolland back there, and looks like Maurice is off track. Otherwise, we've made it up to this point. So it's not been completely clean, but it has been as frantic as we anticipated. Gronkowski leads Shedlick, but we got a battle for the lead as Shedlick is on the charge and once again going to try around the outside for the second lap.
Yeah, very difficult to make the outside work into turn one. I think he's going to give that up. He tries to hold on, but not able to make it happen.
He's got to watch out. Hisada is right there, and he's going to cut underneath, but there's just no room at the end through these section of corners. Through Butchers, it is single file. Same thing up through the chicane. And wow, we're in store for this all through. Once they hit the traffic, this is just going to be a complete schlemazel.
Yeah, and to that point, 31st is already nearly 20 seconds behind, so almost half a lap down after only even a lap.
Into the Taylor's hairpin once again and along the front stretch. This time, Shedlick does not get the launch. Behind them, it's still close between Hisada and Walker as well. I don't think Walker's got enough of a run as Gronkowski now sets the fastest lap of the race there in the second position. I think Timothy Rawlings had an off at Taylor's. Yes, he did. He is able to return to the circuit as we watch from onboard Jordan.
Yeah, Hisada was a little bit weak out of the hairpin that last time by, but Walker chose not to attack him. He's got his own battle going on with I think, Ove Trangarade. Yes, he's moved up from 6th to 5th, and he's looking for a 4th spot already.
Ooh, and a little bit of a look now from Trangarade on Walker. He's going to brake much, much deeper. He's extremely shallow into the corner. Just about makes the apex, but he's going to have that spot. Oh, and behind him, we got a spin. Matt Wright gets turned around, and he's on the racing line trying to get out of the way. Finally, he's able to pop his way out of danger and get rolling again. So it looks like that cost Tixier a position trying to avoid him, but look at Wright trying to keep Lehman behind. Not sure he's going to be able to do that. Lehman's got 18th position.
Yeah, and Matt Wright's going to be really disappointed with that. Obviously qualified inside the top 10. Just got tipped around at the hairpin and had the worst thing happen where he didn't go the whole way around. He ended up with a 180 and then had to, manually continue it himself.
And he was, as I said, stuck right on the racing line facing everybody, so he can see it all coming at him. Let's try to see who that was that got into him.
I think he was Rasky.
Yeah. Somebody off into the grass because of that. I think that may have been Tixier, who fell down to 13th now. And in fact, Rasky's in pit lane, so that contact must have damaged his suspension. Unfortunate, but I'm sure if you're the other driver involved, you're thinking that's a bit of karma. Asada, in the meantime, has Ove Trangarade already climbing over the gearbox. So Trangarade clearly a little bit better than what his qualifying implied, a 46.8, and yet he has already been able to hit that once again here in race pace itself with a full tank to boot. And he's on the charge with Hisada just about a car length and a half in front of him, but not enough of pace to try and attack into Duffus Dip.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit surprised Hisada's already kind of been dropped by the lead too, and we're so used to seeing him in the fight for the win, but this week it just doesn't look like he's, at least early in the race, it's got the pace to challenge them. As you see Ove in the background going wide there through the chicane, losing that position, back to Ryan Walker.
I feel like that's going to be a common scene in this race here. Christian is just overshooting that that chicane. I've done it a lot myself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's totally blind, and it's kind of all dependent upon how you launch over the curb at the initial kind of stab at it. So once you've set your line, there's just nothing you can really do. You're committed to it, and hopefully you got it right.
Watching now from Shedlick's view over his shoulder, looking at Gronkowski. Jordan, I think, has only beat him once this season. Yeah, at the first round at Bathurst, where he took, well, you guessed it, second place. And let's see if he can finally get that win this season as Jordan follows him along the railway straight. Currently actually ran along a railway, did that run down the back stretch, and very close behind him coming up out of Taylor's, but can't seem to get the grip.
Yeah, just not able to get enough bite to make an attempt down into turn 1, but at the moment, it seems like most of the passes that we have seen, they've happened either due to mistakes or they've been in the hairpin. So I think that's where you've got to make it happen. You've got to get a good run down the railway straight, and then it's going to need to be a pretty aggressive move. But I think that's the best opportunity.
Speaking of aggressive moves, it starts. They are on lap 8 of 43, and they've caught the back of the field. First up, going to be Robert Reynolds, back row Bob lets them through, but now they come up to Alan Graham as well. Graham tries to stay off the apex. Oh, he turns into him, and he gets hit twice, and having to go around the outside. Shedlick is unable to make the pass on Gronkowski, but is Jordan damaged because of that?
Well, I've seen a couple of cars already out of the race because of, slight contacts like that. Hopefully Gronkowski's able to continue, and he actually benefited a little bit because the gaps opened up since that incident.
Wow, well, that was not what I was expecting here at the very first go of trying to lap cars. And yeah, it looked like he was trying to give him space, and then suddenly they came together on the exit. And a tiny little touch a second time sends him back straight forward. And there you can see that is Shedlick trying to come around the long way and Shedlick Gronkowski's out. Gronkowski's come to a halt.
That looks like that damage obviously was more significant than maybe it initially appeared.
He just pulled wide. We're watching as he laps another car. Doesn't hit anything. He just almost looks like he goes deep and gives it up. I don't know what happened, but he didn't like how the car felt for some reason or another. Shedlick is now your leader. Hisada is behind by 2.5 seconds with Walker onto the podium.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate for Gronkowski because obviously he really nailed the race start. Was a little bit slow off the line, but still had enough in hand to retain the lead. And we knew that lap traffic was going to play a factor. I was hoping that wasn't going to be the factor it would play.
Yeah, same. We follow the 5 of Ryan Walker down into Duffus Dip once again. Also want to give a little love to Robert Plumley. I mentioned his qualifying didn't look terribly good. Well, his race pace is terribly good. He is up 11 spots here to 12th position.
Yeah, I think he's easily our biggest mover up the field.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, you're right. He's the hardest charger currently amongst our racers. And next on his list is Maudsley. Ooh, behind him. Bit of a rough run through the chicane for Salgado. He's got Laust Olsen. That's one of our onboards here today. This is going to be the fight for 13th position in that number 9. And he's getting mighty close. In fact, he's thinking about taking a look. Whoa! Well, that was a lapped car. That was Kaj Hansen, who was trying to stay out of the way, and Olsen had to dive to the outside.
Yeah, it's seen that a couple of times now where lap cars have, they've gone out of their way to be out of the way, but they're actually almost, a little bit kind of surprising with it because there's, in some instances, they're coming to a dead stop right before the corner. Someone's gone off on the exit of the chicane.
Olsen. John Olsen, the other Olsen, as we continue to watch Laust, and this time a much better run. He might have the pass. Can he manage to get this one done? Looks like he does. Into Clark. Not often you see passes in there, but that was solid. Behind him, Will Lamb, now potentially going to try and see if he can threaten Salgado. Yeah, this lap traffic is just going to be nonstop in it. I have to bring up what you mentioned before the race. How did you describe this place, Christian?
As squiggly Bristol? Because it is, that's the defining characteristic of Bristol. Aside from it being a very small track, it's there's traffic the entire time. Like in a 40-car field at Bristol, you're pretty much in traffic within even as little as 5 to 10 laps, and that's exactly what we've seen here. And I think that's the best way to describe the track. It's got all the same kind of characteristics. The only difference is that it's not an oval.
I am going to bring it out every time we come here now. This is squiggly Bristol as they come down into Duffus Dip once again. This is Walker within about a second and a half of Hisada. See if he can get any closer than that. Ove Trangerade already was on the attack on him before and managed to pass before he gave it back up. And it looks like he's trying to play some catch-up. You can see him in the background there, approaching the Scott, trying to deny him a chance at the podium at his home track. Otherwise, down the field, there are a few battles, but most people are separating out a little bit here at this stage. Oh, somebody completely off track around Olsen. That was Robert Plumley.
So it's about his rise through the field, but it looks like it's been curtailed for the moment.
Once again, it's that chicane. He was already a little bit offline through Duffus Dip. Managed to get the car under control. Let's see, through Butchers. If he's maybe just slightly off once again. Yeah, somewhat off the apex. That maybe threw him out of his comfort zone. And unfortunately, the gravel definitely out of his comfort zone. He thankfully returns without spinning.
Yeah, this kind of area, though, really is where the battle's going on right now. Is Quellen's in 9th, and then really all the way back through to 14th is all stacked up.
It is, and it's got some lap traffic in there as well. You can see them here coming off the chicane into Clark, and looks like Quellen is going to continue to lead. Maudsley going to be potentially another good haul of points for Matthew to try and catch up to Jorge Nieva, but right now Nieva is up the road by a good 7 or 8 seconds, so he's not only going to have to pass Quellen, but then he's going to have to claw forward to see if he can pass the 20.
Yeah, Nieves kind of put himself clear of this group, and he's actually on the back of Sanchez looking for that 7th spot.
So we work our way through McIntyre, through Butchers, and into the chicane once more. Better run for anybody in the group this time? No, not quite. Although Plumley looked a little bit out of sorts compared to Olsen, who has gained a car length or two. And we head over to Nieva in the meantime, who has the gap to Sanchez down to half a second now. Sanchez up 3, Nieva up 3. In front of them, Tixier, no surprise, he's up 6 after a poor qualifying and has made good on his race pace down the hill once again and into McIntyre.
Yeah, Nieves had a really, really strong season, and obviously we talk about him as an F2 driver, but I've got to think that maybe next season he's not going to be an F2 driver anymore. You know, he's regularly inside the top 10 now, and he's had some really standout results that I think on balance would put him ahead of actually quite a lot of the main F1 championship drivers.
Absolutely. I'm pretty certain he's going to be promoted next time around, and the Club Iberia driver is still hounding Xavier Sanchez, who's not quite in the top 5 here today. And my goodness, this track really shows, I think, some old school flavor. You can see just how bouncy and bumpy it is in these 49s without any downforce to keep them plugged to the track.
Yeah, it's probably one of the more extreme kind of old British circuits, I would say. I know somebody's going to be upset that I didn't say it was a Scottish circuit there, as we see Nieves just disappeared for a second, but he's back now. Yeah, it's... you've got kind of the other tracks, such as Brands Hatch is the other one that really stands out as having a lot of elevation change, but even there, it just seems different. I feel like Knockhill tries to take the elevation change and make it work against you, whereas at Brands Hatch it always kind of feels like the corners are cambered in your favor. Even Paddock Hill Bend is difficult, but not as difficult as the first 2 turns at this track.
I think I'd agree on that one. Bad news for fans of Richard Holland. He had contact with Harnby as he was trying to lap him. That sent him into pit lane with too much damage to continue. So yet more are falling victim to this incredibly tough circuit, but we're getting close to the halfway point here, so just about to the other side of the hill. So we had a pass, and Plumley is in 12th now as he got overtaken by Salgado, or 13th rather, it looks like, as the 22 continues to climb forward.
Yeah, it looked like he let Laustolson by as well there. I'm not sure if he picked up a slow... Yeah, it looks like he would have got a slow down for hopping over that curb there.
But he's got no place to serve it right here. Is he going to be able to pull off to the side? Yep, there he goes. I was going to say, that's got to be nerve-wracking. Oh, and something's happened to Ryan Walker. Ryan Walker is down, and so is Hisada. Is this related? Did the two come together here? Checking to see. And it looks like, Hisada has yet further problems. And no, not related, although Hisada had contact with multiple cars. I think Harnby got a piece of him. Oh, man. And then somebody else.
It was the same incident for both Hisada and Walker. They both had the exact same spin to the right. Here, you see it from Hisada, and then in the background, you see Walker going the same direction.
That's the 34 of Maurice running into him the first time. And then Harvey gets him the second time, just becomes a punching bag. Wow. So this now means that Trangrade is your second place driver and Zoko is up to third. Tixier, incredibly, is up from 12th to 4th. He is just outside the podium.
Yeah, and he's definitely got a chance here at Ben Zoko because he's obviously ran him down and he's been on his tail for the past at least 3 to 4 laps.
And Ryan Walker managed to survive much better than Hisada, by the way. He just spun and returned to the circuit. He's in 5th position. Hisada has had to tow to pit lane because of his damage. So it becomes a fight for third, and very strong through the as we are still riding on board here down into the hairpin. This is with the likes of, trying to make out who this is.
I believe it's Jim Shedler. He is still leading the race.
Yes.
He's having his own race right now, but he is still leading the race.
It's 6 seconds, though. It's actually pretty massive down to third. It's 12 seconds difference between the leader and third. But I want to go to that battle, actually, because Tixier is closing on Zoko pretty significantly in some of the corners, but not when he does that.
Yeah, and Tixier looks like he's had some kind of incident there. I mean, the 49 does tend to slam the nose into the track and picks up a little bit of damage, but he looks like he's got a bit more than the kind of normal amount of damage we're used to seeing in the car.
They've certainly got loose coming off the chicane. He's very lucky that he held onto it as they stream down towards Taylor's once again. He was within almost 0.4 of a second. That has increased to about 0.9 of a second now. So what was a battle, as soon as we come here, starts to dissipate. I think Laus Olsen might have a little bit of fun in his hands because Matthew Maudsley is in front of him. They have to go the long way around of the traffic of Morris there in the 34. And behind them, Salgado is also joining the fray.
And Laust is now up into his, kind of customary top 10 position.
So can he go any higher than that is the question. Gary Quellen in front of them. Oh, somebody off track. That is Alan Graham. Seems to have had an issue. He's staying out of the way off to the side. Don't need to go there. And heading towards Clark up over the right-hand crest. Good run there from Maudsley. Not under threat from Olsen this time.
Yeah, this group has kind of been running, in lockstep the entire race to this point. And it's just difficult to make a pass on cars that are so similar to you in pace. And I think there probably is an element of waiting for a mistake because, we've seen it already, especially with a couple of drivers towards the front of the field. You don't expect drivers such as Hisada to make mistakes like you did, but, it's just the nature of the track. It's so difficult.
And what's even wilder to think about is they only have 16 cars left on the lead lap here at this point. We might wind up with less than 10 finishing the full race distance here today. And we've had these 4 certainly losing time to our leader, who is about 30 seconds up the road. Well, Tixier fell off, but he's back on the horse. It looks like the 8 has caught the 10, and he is within 0.2 of a second. Way too much curb there for Zoko, but Tixier has no place to go. Oh, that's what he... Oh, wow, into Clark. He's going to actually send it, but it doesn't stick.
But it's opened the door for Ryan Walker. He's now back in this fight.
Wow. That was ambitious. He gives another look, but he's way too far back that time. Tixier is very much on it now. He doesn't get the good exit coming out of Taylor's. Walker within 0.3 of a second himself as we hop on board, looking over his shoulder, under the brakes, into Duffus dip, off the apex there for Zoko, but doesn't lose enough time that he loses the spot.
Yeah, but what's now going to happen is there is a ton of traffic ahead of them, and I've been watching Shedlick and Trengerek go through it, and each driver each time has lost about 3 to 4 seconds. So this is a huge group, and this is the closest fight, and you see we're now at the tail end of that traffic.
Next one up, that's Rawlings, pulls out of the way, nicely done. They come up to Weir and Scurry. That's not a battle for position, but they're both on different laps, so they're trying to navigate their way through them. They get one, and Scurry is going to try and stay off to the side, maybe. He better brake very early. He does not. He almost goes defensive, almost contact. Tixier, of course, and they launch into the air. Another hit between them, and that causes a spin with the lapped car. Who is going to take advantage? It's going to be Sanchez who goes up to fourth. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that all started with I think it was Zoko was getting checked up. Tixier didn't expect him to slow up so much. Walker himself wasn't really slowing up for it either. And Tixier ran so deep that when he came back across, Walker just kind of had nowhere to go, and it was pretty heavy side-by-side contact there.
Wow. So Nieva now gets promoted into 5th position. And Maudsley has even more work to do. Nieva's already had himself a 2nd place as an F2 driver this season. He could maybe get another top 5 in his name. As we watch on board with him, is that Sanchez right in front? Whoa, that was scary. The lapped car, that's going to send him off into the gravel. He loses his spot to Tixier.
Yeah, he's able to recover ahead of Walker, but obviously Tixier has nipped back through into that top 5.
Hasn't had a top 5 other than that 2nd place finish as Nieva. Olsen, in the meantime, Laust is trying to see if he can overtake on Quellen, who was forced defensive through Clark Corner. Matthew Maudsley is going to take advantage of this to try and streak away. Woo, late send, very late send. Can he get the car woed up? I don't think so. Goodbye. There goes Laust Olsen, and he keeps it from spinning too badly. He gets back going, but the spot is back in the hands of Quellen now.
Yeah, just a little bit too hot into that. Was able to save it from, going more than just the half spin. So got a little bit lucky with that, and doesn't actually lose any spots. So about as good a mistake as you can make right there.
It's the banana brigade here. We got a bunch of yellow cars. Olsen leads Salgado, other Olsen, John, and Robert Plumley, all trying to make positions here just outside of the top 10. And once again, tripping up into the gravel, Laust Olsen going a little too wide. Let's not forget that drivers have got to watch out for the incident limit, which I do believe did Sebastian Tixier. Yes, he has. He's got a black flag. He's going to have to serve that. He sits in 5th. He's certainly not going to be in the top 10 after he has to come down for his drive-through.
Yeah, somebody's just had a huge off at turn 1 as well. I'm not sure what happened there. Trying to find out who it is. It's Timothy Rawlings. It looked like he just went exit stage left.
Not the first. As we carry on with about 12 laps to go here, and Shedlick is still your leader in that number 1 machine. He started from the front row, but has certainly made good on his pace to run away from everybody else once he was done with the likes of Gronkowski. And Obe Traingrade about 10 seconds behind Zoko, a full 16 seconds behind him. We are still at 16 drivers left on the lead lap, amazingly. Matt Wright is the last one, and he's been the last one on the lead lap for a good chunk of time. We continue to watch, as I've lovingly dubbed, the Banana Brigade here, coming down through Duffus Dip and into McIntyre. Yeah,
and this is really where the last kind of big battle is still going on the track. There is one for 5th, but we'll have to see what happens with Tixier and that black flag that he's got.
And that was Salgado with a mistake coming through the chicane that gives the position to Olsen. He moves to 11th, but Laust Olsen is stretched away from them and is no longer under threat as long as he doesn't overshoot the corners once again. And looks like Tixier is now serving his penalty. That'll promote Walker back up into 6th. And Club West driver John Olsen gets promoted up into 11th. Nope, maybe not. No, Tixier comes out in amongst them. Who is that off?
It's Gary.
Yeah, so that's Sandro into 33. And he's able to get back out on the track. And normally I would criticize some drivers for trying to get in, to return to the circuit in an unsafe manner, but frankly, I don't think there's any openings anymore. I think we have a conveyor belt of cars around the circuit at this point.
Yeah, it's that, and that squiggly Bristol, there you go. That's exactly what it is. It's the same thing. There's just a constant line of cars, and there's nowhere that's kind of, you got enough space to get yourself back on the track without affecting somebody.
Well, right now, Laust Olsen is trying to affect Quellen. He's caught back up to him yet again. He's up to 9th after Tixier's penalty, but Tixier's starting to encroach upon him as well. In fact, Tixier is all sorts of loose, taking a ton of speed through the chicane behind as we continue to ride on board. Bit of a bad exit from Laust Olsen. 1, 2, 3 in a line, all in a fight for 8th place here.
Yeah, Quellen's pulled it up a little bit short. It's sent Tixier on the inside. No. He's going to get into Olsen.
Oh, when they come together, that spins both of them around. And Tixier manages to get it rolling. Olsen runs down to 12th. Plumley gets promoted into 12th. And I think Tixier is crabbing. Yeah, that does not look straight. I'm kind of amazed that he didn't run into the incident limit here and is DQ'd. He's got to be close at this point.
Yeah, definitely going to be close. And you know, that really all started with the car ahead of them checking up a little bit more than both of them were expecting. And I don't think Tixier was actually trying to go for a move there. I think he was just trying to avoid an incident.
Yeah, just did not expect both of them to be braking as early as they did. So this is going, if I'm honest, about as expected up to this point. I kind of figured the race would look a little bit something like this, and Tixier's still trying to limp his way home in today's race. Somebody completely off the track there. That's Richard Yolland, parked for some reason. Not sure why, after he took his repairs. So we'll see what in the world he's trying to do there off to the side of the track. Thankfully well out of the firing line, so not likely to get hit by anybody unless someone has a weird spin. But Shedlick is still your leader. Trangrade's still second. And Ben Zoko has survived all comers to hold on to a podium here.
Yeah, he really has. And I think, Shedlick aside, he's had kind of the cleanest run in the top 5. Everybody else we've seen has had, at least one scary moment happen to them.
He's up 2 positions. Trangrade's up 4. Xavier Sanchez up 6. Jorge Nieva up 6 as well. Walker's the first one to have lost positions here amongst the top runners. So we continue to watch the fight through the chicane. This is between Walker and Maudsley. Maudsley up 8 spots. Again, his focus probably more on Nieva. I don't think Ryan is his concern as much, except for maybe overall position to try and get those valuable points and limit the damage to Nieva, but he wants to beat that number 20, and coming off of Taylor's, he's getting closer. I think Maudsley might actually be a bit of a threat to the 5.
Yeah, definitely looks like he's got a little bit of a pace advantage right now, and for Maudsley, it's been a really impressive run. He's up from 15th to 7th, and if it wasn't for Nieva, this would be a huge gain in the F2 points championship. But once again, Nieva's kind of coming away at the moment with a top 5.
It seems like the top of the F2 field has just upped their game immensely this season, and it's made it so difficult to get enough points to try and make a dent in that championship, especially after the 2nd place that Nieva had managed a little bit earlier on. Good exit there from Maudsley, but unfortunately not good enough. He's still within 0.3 of a second. He's going to start running out of laps. They tick away so quickly here today. We're down to 5 to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's presumably thinking about the points that he's going to get from this. And the relatively small gain from going for a big move that could lose him all of that.
And, well, they're about to get lapped as well, as we're watching Tixier and Plumley, who are not too far behind those drivers. And there you see, there is our leader. We are down to 13 left on the lead lap. Jim Shedlick is approaching. Blue flags, no doubt, waving for Tixier, and I think he thought he was going to get out of the way, but that wound up seeing both of them move off to the side, and he is going to get a position over Plumley. Nicely done, even with a damaged car. Plumley, though, is more polite. He is going to let Shedlick through.
Yeah, I think Seb kind of got a freebie there. Plumley ran wide, right, whilst Seb was, kind of trying to figure out what to do with Jim, and inadvertently gained a position.
He's got to be careful here, and we haven't talked about that, but it is still a huge danger for Shedlick trying to lap these cars, especially when they're damaged like Tixier is, because they might be slightly unpredictable.
Yeah, and I know obviously Seb has had some issues in the race that have kind of put him back here, but I really didn't think we'd ever end up with a situation where we'd be talking about Tixier being lapped.
Same.
That seems pretty crazy to me.
2 to go as they cross the line now. Shedlick now has put everybody bar the top 11 down a lap at this tiny little Scottish bull ring. And as he takes it through McIntyre, he has about 7.8 seconds over Trangrade. He is well in the clear at this point. Definitely not the podium that I was expecting us to have. It has been pretty topsy-turvy in this race, and you can see how much these cars just bobble and bounce over the rises and the curbs at this track. The white flag at the ready in the hands of Barney now for Jim Shedlick as he gets ready to lead them to the 1 to go signal.
Yeah, and while Shedlick's starting his last lap, it's not kind of nailed on for this third spot for Ben Zocco. Xavier Sanchez is really close behind. He's going to have a chance, I think, on this last lap, especially if there's any more lap traffic.
It's going to have to be very aggressive, I would think, and have a phenomenal lap. But like you said, yeah, it's possible. Just have to wait and see as we ride on board with Sanchez down through Duffus Dip. Taking a lot of curb. He is pushing. He knows that it could be there, but we got to go to Jim Shedlick now because he comes up to Taylor's, and still nobody can beat this man, it seems. Hasn't been beaten since the first race at Bathurst. Since then, it has been wins, and it's another one here today at Knockhill. Trangrade is going to get second place, and Ben Zocco manages to promote himself onto the podium. Looks like Nieva going to get his second top 5 of the season. And he is in no man's land, honestly. 8 seconds behind Sanchez, 10 seconds ahead of Walker. Walker's going defensive from Maudsley. In fact, very, very defensive. Got to be careful there. And thankfully, Maudsley cannot take advantage. So Walker will get a 6 in his homeland. And Maudsley finished in 7th. Last driver on the lead lap. Going to wind up being Salgado, just barely. Olsen beat him to the line as they cross here. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around. Welcome back to Knockhill. This was a wild race, which we kind of anticipated, but Jim Shedlick still could not be beaten as Gronkowski ran into trouble with lap traffic, and we believe that may have ended his race eventually with damage that he was unhappy with. Ove Trangerade promoted himself from 6th to 2nd, and Ben Zocco rounded out your podium in 3rd. Xavier Sanchez was P4 as Jorge Nieva, the F2 driver, gets his second top 5 of the season. Ryan Walker briefly on the podium here at his home track and just couldn't hold on to it. Also got caught up in trouble. Very many fell victim to that, unfortunately, so he's not alone. Maudsley was not able to catch Nieva to try and run him down in the points. He loses more today, but still gets 7th place. It was Gary Quellen in 8th with John Olsen in 9th, and Laust Olsen rounds out your top 10.
Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado, he just lost out on that top 10 on the very final corner of the race, comes home in 11th, the last driver on the lead lap. Sebastian Tixier, we saw he had to come through for a pass-through penalty and had a couple of moments out on track, comes home 12th, first driver lap down. Robert Plumley comes home 13th, Will Lamb 14th. Matt Wright and Jan Lehman come home 15th and 16th. And Mira Razki, unfortunately, went 9th to 17th today. And Glenn Becker actually went the opposite way, 26th to 18th, with Armin Weber and Tobias Hanvey rounding out the top 20.
Harry Weir finished 21st. Don Peak gained a lot of positions, 27th to 22nd there in the back of the field. Scary was 23rd from 30th. We've got Alan Graham 24th with Maurice in 25th. From there, it was DNFs with Yolland, Rawlings, Hisada, Reynolds, Snelson, Bruning, Gronkowski, Hansen, and Ho not getting to the checkered flag. But Jim Shedlick collects his 5th checkered flag of the season, his 5th in a row even for Jim. And it looks like you had a little bit of help on this one as Jordan got into some trouble. If it wasn't for that contact with the lap traffic, Jim, do you think Jordan had the measure of you today?
Yeah, I think he had really strong consistency here. I know he has a lot of experience in this track. I know he's won here in real life, so definitely he was really strong today. And really, it's unfortunate. I kind of, I knew there's a good chance we get tied up in lap traffic at some point, but I definitely didn't want it to happen that early.
No, it was a bit of a shame to see it wind up that way. Talk about the lap traffic. What was it like out there? And did you have any moments that we had missed? Because I can't recall seeing you having a run-in with anybody other than going off track to go around the outside of that car that Jordan did.
Yeah, I think the lap cars did as much as they could to try to be safe and careful. I probably had more local yellows in this race than any I've run in this series. A lot of people going off. It's just a really tough track, so just trying to keep kind of my eyes open as people were rejoining.
Well, man, impressive stuff. And thankfully, things are going to open up to a proper Grand Prix size track at Hockenheim. How do you anticipate things going when we head to Germany?
And I unfortunately can't make it next week, so the streak will end at Hockenheim. It's going to be an awesome track, though, for these cars. I really wish I could race there, but yeah, I'll definitely be watching the broadcast for sure.
I'm sure Jordan is absolutely gutted to hear that. But, congratulations on another win. Anybody you want to thank?
Thanks, appreciate it. Yeah, well, mostly thanks to the lap cars today. This is definitely a hard track, a lot of blind corners, hard to get out of the way, and I felt like people did the best they could. So yeah, I appreciate that.
That was Jim Shedlick, your winner here today. As up next, I believe we've got Christian talking to third place finisher Ben Zocco.
Ben, it looked like you kind of had one of the more calm runs, I would say, to a top 5 today, but you did have a couple of battles throughout the race. Early on, you were kind of fending off advances from John Olsen, and then it became Sebastian Tixier in the latter part of the race. But kind of talk us through how it was for you, because aside from those moments with those two battles, it did look like you had a fairly calm race compared with everybody else.
Well, yeah, maybe compared to some other people, but this race was never going to be anything like calm, that's for sure. I was super surprised at my lap time there, because in a previous race I didn't seem to have the pace, so I wasn't expecting to be P5. I kind of let Ove go because I didn't really want any extra trouble, and I know he's always quick. I was super impressed to have out-qualified him, but knowing that my goal was to just be careful with the lap traffic and everything, and I know that I didn't have much confidence into turn 1. I didn't fight Ove too much, the early laps, cold tyres, and then it was just about doing consistent laps and not making any errors, just driving within myself. And I thought I had John pretty much covered, and as long as I didn't make any mistakes. And then Seb, I know he was quick, and I knew that he messed up qualifying, and he closed in on me heaps quick. And it was just about not making any mistakes in traffic. I did get tagged by a lapped car early on, a little bit, but thankfully there was no damage, there was no spinning out or anything. It was just a weird little bump. And Seb got to the back of me by mistake, I think, because we were coming up to a lapped car into turn 1, and again, I know that Seb's quick, and a part of why he's quicker than me is braking later, I think, and carrying more speed through turn 1. So as I was judging the lapped car ahead, didn't know what he was going to do. I maybe broke a bit earlier than Seb was expecting, and he hit the back of me, and thankfully it didn't crash me or spin me out or any of us. And then I thought, you know what, this is for like a podium. I'm going to defend as hard as I can against Seb. But something happened to him. I think maybe with lap traffic again, or maybe damage from the little bump. And I didn't have to worry about him. And then Sanchez or someone was behind me, and I figured I didn't have to push too hard to stay in front, so I could just kind of not cruise to the end, because every lap of every corner of this track is scary. I was able to hold off for my first podium in this series for a long time. Been a long time since I've been on the broadcast podium, so it's good to be here.
Well, it was definitely a good run. You know, as you say, you kept it very, very consistent throughout the race, and you handsomely rewarded for that. Now, next time out, Hockenheim, obviously very, very different. I don't think that lap traffic is going to be near as much of a factor, and you know, the circuit type's just very, very different as a whole. You got any thoughts on that track?
I absolutely love Hockenheim, but I think I'm going to be away for that one too. So that's really unfortunate, because I love Hockenheim. I don't think I'll be that competitive. I'm only a little bit competitive here because everyone crashed out, and there's less corners to lose time on. So, I'd love to be there, but we'll miss it, sadly.
Well, that's unfortunate, but post Hockenheim, it's the old Nürburgring, and it's actually a 24-hour layout. So, hopefully, we'll see you there.
Yeah, I'll be there. I don't think I've got anything else planned that'll take me away. I'm not great. I'm not a specialist at Nordschleifer and 24-hour layout or anything, but again, that's one of those tracks where if you drive within yourself, don't push too hard, you will gain places where everyone else crashes.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we let you go, is there anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Thanks to John Olsen for his setup again.
Oh, thank you for coming and chatting with us. Congratulations on the top 3.
See you. Thank you.
And one more driver to talk to. 6th place for Ryan Walker here today, the homeboy. Unfortunately not able to get the podium, although he ran in those positions briefly. Ryan, was this one that it would have meant a whole bunch for you to be able to stand on one of those steps today, or is it just happy to get to run this car at this track?
It's just happy to run this car at this track, because I mean it's one of my favourite tracks, or has become one of my favourite tracks in iRacing. Not just because it's a home track, but just it's good to see one of my home tracks in iRacing, and just racing around it was good fun. But kind of frustrated to miss out on a podium. But I just had a feeling that there was going to be some silly incidents around here, just because of how small and how tight the track is. But it's still a good race, and it's not a podium, but P6, I'll happily take that, considering I had to battle with some suspension damage after my incident with Sebastian Texier, who I have to apologise for that incident in turn 1.
Yeah, it's understandable. It seemed like it just all kind of unfolded in a way not many could have avoided that one. Do you feel like there's any sort of home court advantage running here? Have you? I'm not sure if you've actually had experience out on the track, but I assume you've run plenty in the sim itself.
Yeah, I've done some I've raced around here in the past, sim racing wise, back in the old R Factor 1 days and R Factor 2 and a few other sims. So I've got some experience around here, but this is my first time of racing it on iRacing, and I have to say, iRacing's done a good job in it.
Yeah, it certainly is a beautiful circuit, and I've enjoyed it a lot. Will we see more of you coming back to try and vie for those podium positions throughout the season, though?
I'm planning to do the rest of the season, or basically do the rest of the season when I can. But yeah, it would have been nice to get a podium around here, but still plenty of other opportunities to do that in the rest of the main races. I can't remember where we are next week, but I think it's let me have a quick look.
Hockenheim.
Hockenheim, another one of my favourites. So yeah, I'll be there for sure.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye out for you. Anybody you want to shout out before we let you go?
First off, Satellite Racing, and to our sponsors as well, Maradness and Ellis Engineering, and it's basically our main sponsors. So thanks to them, and thanks to you guys for putting on the broadcast as always.
That was Ryan Walker, our sixth place finisher here today in the Grand Prix Legends Series in round 6. That's going to close us up. So we want to give a thank you to the Grand Prix Legends community ourselves for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And don't forget about our promo for the Majors Garage. Use our promo code MajorsGSRC with the link in the description below to get 10% off. A big thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, Christian, Rob, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Check out our merchandise store. It's gsrc.storenv.com. Keep a link in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. As was mentioned, the next race is Hockenheim, Saturday, April 30th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. And we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. Up next today, the Camel GT series goes to another British track, Donington, at 1 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.